Hi, and welcome to our show today. If you're wondering what the badge of life is, we're going to let you know because our guest is going to talk about the sexual predators among us and the badge of life. And we're fortunate enough to have RonRufo here today, and he's going to be talking about these topics, which are sometimes hard to listen to, but you need information on it. So, Ron, thank you for joining us.
Karon, thank you. I appreciate your time and having me on again.
Well, we want people to know about this. So, first of all, can you tell us about the badge of life?
Badge of Life is a great organization. It helps police officers, first responders that need help emotionally to not only provide services for them, but where to go confidentially and
So that
without
would include firefighters, paramedics,
everything.
nurses,
Yes.
everybody,
Yes.
doctors, everybody who has to face danger.
More law enforcement than anything. I wouldn't say about doctors, but I mean, maybe we could, as a police officer, where to go to see a therapist, we could recommend a doctor. Dr. Marla Freeman is the chairman, and she's a wonderful person, and she's called the cop doc. She really likes to help law enforcement officers, and she's really a wonderful person.
Okay, now that we've explained what that is,
Yes.
I want you to talk about, you did a dissertation on sexual predators among us. And it's a big thing now because there seem to be a lot of people with these kind of problems that do this, and we're all in danger because of it. So tell us about it.
A lot of young people are in danger with sexual predators. The problem that we're facing today is the internet, and that was with the onset of the internet brought out sexual predation like it never did before. Before the internet, maybe someone would hang around a schoolyard or, try to talk to a student walking down the street or a little kid or whatever they
Or they
had.
call you up on the phone.
Or on the phone too. They always had, every sexual predator has a niche of the person that they want to meet and or be with. And the one of the issues that we've experienced is that a lot of them like prepubescent teenagers. That is probably the biggest area that they seek. And again, the internet gives them a great opportunity of, maybe joining in their chat room or whatever, and to meeting somebody. And they go for someone that is, maybe their parents are going through a divorce, someone that they may say they have low self-esteem, nobody loves me. That's a trigger
Which
for
is
them.
why people also join gangs. Similar reasons, because they want to fit into something.
Possibly. I would not say it's a key thing for gangs. Maybe something more. I think it's peer pressure to join a gang. But for sexual predators, they may have been a sexual predator. I mean,
A victim.
a victim themselves, and that usually happens. That they were a victim. Now they're a predator. So, but you just may not know who that predator is. It might be your neighbor next door. It could be your dentist. It could be your barber. It could be anybody.
Could be your uncle.
Right, your uncle, and that it's a lot of family members are sexual predators that they'll say, "Oh, Uncle Paul, let's go by Uncle Paul," and the kid is like, "I don't want to be with Uncle Paul." You got to look at to see some of this stuff.
I knew a guy that said that he and his brother used to get taken up to Wisconsin to their family friend's summer home, and he would take the two of them. And he was a sexual predator, but he never told his parents. And I guess when he did, they didn't accept it or
They didn't believe
it.
him.
I know.
Right.
And you know what? I had a patient in the psych unit who had been a sexual predator to several of his daughters who never told the mother. The youngest one, when he started on her, that she told the mother. And he came to the psych unit to get out from being arrested, I guess. But I told his wife, if that was my husband, he wouldn't have made it to the psych unit.
Right.
But, and it's funny because when I used to babysit for different people, and there was like certain guys that would not drive you home, but walk you home because it wasn't that far. And there were certain ones that you just didn't want to go near. You just had a feeling not to go near them. And my parents wouldn't let me go to pajama parties or anything at other people's houses because you never knew. And now, thank God, none of that ever happened to me. But you hear about all these different girls that went somewhere and something happened with somebody's father or something happened with whatever. So you have to protect these girls.
That does happen. It happens more than you think, than you realize. my thing is, listen to the kids. Listen to these kids when they're talking. Don't say, he's lying. Even though this young man or young lady may lie all the time, but something like this, I would check it out.
And sometimes the mothers, unfortunately, don't want to ruin their own situation at home.
With their family, right?
And so they just say they don't believe it. I can't believe the women that I know that have told me that they tried to tell their mother something about something like that, and they didn't want to hear it.
A lot of fathers, a lot of uncles, a lot of even grandparents are guilty of this, and they're not listening to their children, or they'll even say, if you go talk to someone, I'm going to hurt your mom, I'm going to hurt your dad, I'm going to kill your dog.
The threats, right.
The threats are tremendous. And what kid could, oh my God, if I say something, my mom is going to get hurt, my dad's going to get hurt, this person is going to do it to them.
Well, we had a patient in psych whose brother was a priest, her twin brother, but he had been a sexual predator toward her. And she used to come into the psych unit thinking she was having his baby all the time and go through all kinds of problems. She had to have shock treatments in order to get that out of her mind. And
well, let me tell you, when I was a child, a lot of times parents would say, "Oh, you know what? I think you need to talk to a priest," and that was like bringing. Not saying all priests had issues, but there was many priests were sexual predators, and it was like bringing a kid to the candy store, and these priests. I mean, who would say, "Oh, the priest did this"? They were not only scared to do it, but who would believe them? Because a priest was
held in high esteem.
Very high esteem. So, especially when I was a kid. Now, I don't know how deep religion is, that how many people go to their family priest, but it was almost like if you had a problem, the priest was the answer to go talk to. So.
So now with the internet, I mean, you see these shows on TV where, somebody's on the internet, the police are on the internet trying to chime in with these kids talking. I mean, are the kids looking for somebody to talk to them like that, or is it pure accident that they end up talking to them? How do they identify?
Sometimes what the kids put out there, they may put a name on their website or on whatever they're doing, not website, on their chat, whatever, like Sexy Girl 69 or
kids do that?
Oh yes. Oh, they're putting words out there that it may attract to somebody else.
Where are they coming up with this stuff?
Oh, today
on television.
On television, you got TikTok and all this other things that are occurring out there. But I was with the Cook County sex unit, and was working with them when I was working on my book. And what they did to go undercover, they would actually pretend that they were a teenager and looking for help or looking for love or looking for just someone to be with them. And a lot of times they would get someone that would say, "Oh, I'm 16," but they're really 26, and then they say, "I'm older." But
well, tell me this: why would a man want to go for a 16-year-old or a 12-year-old or whatever? Well, I know it's because they have a deficit in their brain.
Something triggers them.
Right.
That when they were younger, that maybe a 16-year-old, they were fascinated by someone who was a 16-year-old. They may have been fascinated by a 5-year-old girl or a 5-year-old boy. That's not all females that they're being looked at. You got a lot of young male boys that are being accosted on the internet.
Well, and I heard a man say one time about his daughter that she reminded him of his wife or something, and so and I mean, a lot of men don't get that, but I mean, it happens.
Just the different fantasies out there that provoke someone to do what they're doing.
And then they say that the person who's involved, the kid, feels guilty about it too.
Yes.
And then they don't want to tell anybody about it.
They don't want to break up the family unit because
Okay,
if their dad was molesting them.
All right, but if you had to tell people, just look at the camera and tell them what they should do to have this not happen to them or their kids.
First off, know what your children are watching or experiencing on the internet. That is so important.
How?
Be involved. I think that's the biggest thing. Be a pain in the butt and let me see what you're doing, because a lot of times the parents come in the room, they'll change that screen immediately when that parent comes in
Isn't
the
there a
room.
parental control that you can put
You
on a
can,
computer?
on some computer, yes, on the computers, I would recommend putting a parental control or limiting the time that a computer is being used. Having a computer in a family room, I think that is so important as well, where they, not just in a bedroom where they can be by themselves at a certain time.
Because, you know, we had one in our clubhouse where I live, and for a while somebody was going in there and doing that. They had to put in cameras to figure out who it was. I mean, there's no kids there.
Right.
But somebody that worked there was doing it, and
Right.
it wasn't even the residents. But they finally figured it out. But
Did they
for
have
a while,
child
they
porn
couldn't.
on there? Did they
I
have
think
child
so.
porn?
I think. I'm not sure exactly
Yeah.
what it was. Yeah.
See, some of these guys get off on young children, and
Yeah,
and they, that's what you just don't know. It could be anybody.
And the other thing is, you got to be careful. They're taking pictures of their children in their bedrooms, and there's a thing on your phone that people can identify what address that's at, and even what corner their bed is located in. You got to turn that off. I don't know what it is, but there's something in there that you shouldn't be taking pictures of your kids in their bedroom or your house and letting everybody know where everything's at. I had a friend that did that for Christmas. She had all the pictures and all of the gifts and all this. I said, "Are you crazy? I mean, you just gave everybody the entire picture of where to get everything in your house."
Right. On the internet it's so informative in so many good ways and in so many bad ways as well. You got to watch on your safety, especially saying, taking pictures of a child in the bathtub, nude.
Right.
I mean, how many? I mean, it just
Well,
you might be innocent enough,
now
but
they-
not to somebody out there that's gonna
Now I
that's
think
gonna
they
look.
won't develop those. Like if you take those pictures in to be developed, like people used to do, I don't think they'll develop them now. Or they
Well,
send
now
them
on
to
the
police.
internet, you can take a picture and send it. Millions of people can
Right.
see it. It's like,
Right.
especially on Facebook or whatever, how many people are taking pictures of their kids, or maybe dancing, just simple as dancing in ballerina or whatever. They're
They
looking
shouldn't
at
put
it. and-
pictures of their kids on there.
but
And you shouldn't tell people where you're at.
that's
Anybody shouldn't tell people where they're at.
that's one thing that, especially kids do that. Like my mom doesn't understand me. I go to school. I go to St. Vitus, and everybody knows where St. Vitus at. Or maybe I go to the school, and Tigers is the name on
I
it.
remember when I was a kid, I was sick from school one day, and my mother went over to my grandmother's house, and we had a door that had a window in it, and there was a big mirror in the living room. And after my mother left, some guy pulled up. I had just locked the screen door and everything. Some guy pulled up, came up to the door, and said, "Kid, I know you're in there alone." So he had to
Really?
be watching
Really?
the fact that I didn't go to school or whatever. Open this door because I know you're in there alone. Obviously, I didn't do it. I don't know where that guy came from. He was dressed in a raincoat and a hat. I'll never forget it. He finally left. But I thought to myself, how did he know that I was in there alone?
Right,
I guess he
right.
saw my mother leave. He saw I didn't leave. So they're watching
He
you.
might have been watching your house for quite a while,
Right.
just to know the routine, especially like if your parents picked you up from school and left you, and then had to go do something or run an errand.
Right.
They watch. They're good
Don't
at.
leave your kids alone. I used to take my nieces and nephews all the time to different things. I never let them go to a restroom alone. I was in a restaurant not too long ago, and a little 2-year-old and a 4-year-old were going to the restroom alone through the bar. And the mother finally came, and I said, "Do you have any idea what you're doing with these kids? They could have been out the door and 20 miles away before you knew they were gone."
Right,
I mean, I was watching them. I watched that nobody grabbed him or anything, but the mother wasn't paying any attention. And she's in another room in the restaurant.
Yeah. Today, I think people are a little more trusting than
too much.
I think previously parents were really trusting, because you never heard of somebody getting your
years
child taken. But today, you just don't know.
Well,
it
I
could
never-
happen in a blink of an eye.
I never let my nieces or nephews out of my sight. I mean, even when they were young boys, they had to go in the ladies' room with me, and I'd lock them in a stall
Yeah.
and stuff so nobody saw them, But, I mean, people just let that, even in church. I see the kids, there's a school attached to the church. So the kids are pretty used to going to the restroom there, I guess, because they go to that school. So during Mass, they leave and they go to the bathroom. Now, the bathroom's all the way down the hall, almost in another building. And people let their kids do this. And there's nobody around there. I mean, anybody could grab that kid. And I know one of the ushers is always watching. I try to watch because sometimes I sit in the children's room where you can see
Right.
this. But, I mean, I don't understand parents letting a kid go to a restroom or outside or anything alone ever anymore.
Right. Parents need to really realize that it's a totally different world today, and to be extra cautious. Just like some kids have their name on their back of their
Right.
jacket, you know, Joe. Oh, Joe, your mom said come in, you want
Right.
me to pick you up today.
That's why you got to have a password. They gotta be
Password
able to
is
give you the
very
password.
good, just
Yeah.
to let them know. I really admire. My granddaughter goes to St. Celestine, and my wife couldn't pick her up. I was at a seminar, and out of town. I obviously I couldn't pick her up as well. So we had a friend of ours pick up my granddaughter. She wasn't on the list, and I didn't know that she wasn't. So they're calling me, and they're saying, we have this girl, Vanessa, coming to pick up your granddaughter. I knew exactly. She was in fact, she was one of my students at one time. So I said it was fine, but not only with me, they called my wife and her mother to verify Vanessa was coming to pick her up, and was it okay? I applaud the school for that, because letting my granddaughter go with anyone, she's 11, and she knows Vanessa very well, so she even said, yes, I know Vanessa, she's fine, but they actually called me out of town and to make sure that it was fine. And I applaud them for that, because more and more schools should be more diligent in what they do.
Yeah, but if the parents aren't diligent, how can you
I know,
expect the
I know,
school?
I know.
I mean, like I said, I just don't understand it. I don't understand how they just, I mean, they might get tired of watching their kid once in a while. I can understand that, but you know, you got to take turns. I never would let my nieces or nephews have a babysitter. I said, I'll cancel anything in life that I have to go to if you need a babysitter, and they never had one.
Right.
They never had one.
Sometimes you just don't know who to trust. Again, it could be a family member that could be the biggest culprit that may take advantage of your child, or a nephew or niece or whatever. And it's just not all girls, it's boys too that you really have to be careful of, especially when they threaten them. That's the biggest
So
thing.
tell everybody what else they can do to prevent this.
Again, the computers make sure they're not in a bedroom, not late at night. Be leery of any different activities that a child may do that seems a little out of the ordinary. Maybe going to meet someone that they don't want to tell you who they are. Again, predators.
How do they get away with this? When I was a kid, I couldn't get out the
Oh
door
God, I'm
without
telling you, some
everybody.
sneak out. They'll say, "I'm going to the mall with Katie." Well, there may be no Katie. I would say, you know what? You really have to be like a detective,
Yeah.
and really check out where your kids are going. And I would listen to them, and also tell them if something does happen, or someone approaches you, please let me know, instead of admonishing them for being honest with you, because somebody can come up and say, oh, this guy came to talk to me today, and they'll be so angry at that child that the next time that child wants to be honest, they're not going to be honest, because they say, why should I be honest if it's going to hurt me, or
Well, I
if mom's going to
remember
be
they
mad
had a
at
thing
me.
on television maybe 10 years ago, and one of the anchors from one of the shows did a little show about, she said, my son would never go with anybody. My son would never do that. So they said, okay. So they set up a thing.
I saw that
Did
show.
you see that?
Yes, I
and they
did.
set up a thing, and he and his boyfriend were there, and somebody came up. I forget what they offered him, a pet or candy or something. I don't even remember what it was. And they went.
Right.
And then he was saying, oh, Mom, I'm so sorry I did it. You know, they're not thinking of that. And I mean, I think to myself, there are times when I know a former friend of mine and I were outside of a Whole Foods one time on North Avenue, and a guy came up to us and said, I just got out of jail. I committed armed robbery. And do you have any money? In other words, he was letting us
yes,
know
no, yeah.
he was quite capable of another armed
Right,
robbery.
right.
But this was a former policeman that I was with, and he got rid of the guy. But I mean, there's other ones that walk up. They have their kid walk up to you and want money for gasoline or something, and they got their kid. And I reported that to the police because they're using their kids to entice people and stuff like that. You know.
Yes. On
So-
Michigan Avenue, I was a Michigan Avenue foot officer, and that's what happened.
There's a million scams.
Yes, then they try to scam everybody.
And people fall for what I'm getting at is adults fall for this.
Goes for their heart, that's why.
Yeah, but so you can imagine the kids are not thinking and
Right.
going with somebody. I would have never gone with a stranger
Can
myself.
I just show you something? If I put my hand out, what do most people do?
Grab it.
Most kids are going to grab your
Grab your
hand,
hand.
and that's what a child will do. An adult will, especially as an adult, most children don't realize that it's a bad person. It's just an adult. And again, you put your hand out, they're more likely to take the hand, even if their parents strictly say, "Don't ever go with a stranger," or let me help me with to find my pet. How many kids love pets? And this is or they may even have a picture of their dog. Please come and help me with my pet. Again, a great way to
My
take
husband
somebody.
and his partner, Gil Broderick and Ralph Gibson, did a tape, an hour tape that was there 17 times on Metrovision on street savvy safety, because they were decoys on the police department in
Right.
Chicago, and they were talking about all the different things that can happen to adults and children,
Right.
and what not to do and how to run away and how to do this and do that. I mean, they even had people come after them. They had to dress as women before police women, and they had people
Oh, boy.
guys try to pick them up at the L station.
Really?
If you could have seen how bad they
They
looked.
looked, I'm telling you.
So if they're coming after them, I mean,
Right.
they're going to come after
Right.
women and children.
I'm writing another book on street safety. In fact,
Are you?
I was a crime prevention speaker for the police department for 13 years. So my book is going to be called Street Safety. More now than ever.
You should watch their tape. It's on YouTube. It's called Street Savvy Safety.
I'm definitely gonna look at that,
Yes,
Karen. I'm
and
definitely
check
gonna
that
look
out
at.
because they do give a lot of different tips on things and how when they were decoys, different things that happened to them.
Right.
You know.
Same thing. I have like 56 different topics.
One of them
in
almost got pulled into a car with 6 guys over by the University of Chicago.
Okay.
And I mean, like I said, they look terrible. So I
Yeah.
mean,
See what the
everybody's-
mentality is of some people
everybody's
out
at
there.
risk.
See what the mentality is. It's taking advantage of someone that they shouldn't. Especially they have that in children. Children are vulnerable. They trust almost everyone, and
Well, I
that's
remember
what we
my
have to watch
nieces
out
one
for.
time. We were up in Lake Geneva, and they went down into the basement. They got into some of my makeup, and they came up, and my husband was supposed to take them to the show so I could get a rest, He said, I'm not taking them anywhere because I'm going to look like a pedophile. He said, make them get that makeup off right now.
Yeah.
And they did, but you don't know. I mean, little girls do that when they're home alone. These latchkey kids and everything, they could be putting all this makeup on and going outside too. You don't know if they're 16 or 7 or
You just
whatever.
don't know. You don't know what they're doing, especially on the computer.
Well, I don't
Biggest
think
thing.
people
And
should
we're
let
just-
them be on the computer.
We are just hitting the tip of the iceberg. Sometimes you hear it on the news that someone got caught with child porn, or they arrested somebody on a sting because the 25-year-old, not everybody's older either. It's a lot are younger, 20, 22, 24, 26, in and around that age. Not everybody's a 60-year-old guy hitting on these children. There are a lot younger ones. So they're meeting these kids at a different location, sometimes out of state, just to meet a child.
Remember, they had a show like that. And
Yes,
the girls were said they were 16 and invite the guys over.
Right.
And the guys would say, I saw this show, but I didn't think that was
That
you.
was going to happen
Right.
to me, right? In fact, that was one of the main reasons why I wrote the book. When I was writing my dissertation, I thanked the Chicago Police Department on that. Is that they provided me to get to receive my doctorate degree, and they paid for us to go to school. I had a lot of information on going into for taking tests for police department, but when I saw that program by my mother-in-law's house during the holidays, that really changed my whole thinking of look how many guys are coming to this house, and how many more are out there that we're not exposing.
And how many successful big shots. I mean, it's not just...
Unbelievable. Money talks.
That's why I
Money
said,
talks and hides
I've
a lot.
known some people, Gloria and I were discussing this, Gloria Holland, who's our consumer advocate, about, you can know a person for 20 years, and then suddenly they'll do something that you never expected them to do
Right.
with some of this stuff.
Right.
And it's like really shocking.
You know what, Karen? It's the power that they hold, and they say, well, they can use money or their influence to change a lot of things, especially their perverted ways, and that's what's shocking
a lot
today.
of missing children too are being grabbed and taken. I have a friend that's a nurse with the United Nations, and her friends went and busted up some of these deals where they're grabbing children, and they're keeping them in hiding, and they're actually using their blood or tissue to keep people young. And I mean, they got these kids locked up, and you wonder where these missing children are at, and that's where they're at.
Sex trafficking is very big as well. Extremely well. Again,
I think to myself, how did I ever get through all this and never have anything like that happen to me? I mean, really,
I know.
you know.
Well, 1 in 4 women in the whole United States, and again probably the world, get accosted at some time or sexually abused or touched, whatever, at some point of their life, and many don't say anything.
And you know, you
especially the
notice that in
children.
some girls, like teenage girls, they suddenly start gaining a lot of weight and things, you
Right.
know, and it's because they're holding something like that
Right.
in or stuffing it down by eating
Something
and
is
stuff like
wrong,
that, you know?
or anorexia too. That you
Right.
never know. So, again, if there's an emotional problem there, again, knowing your child, what's wrong, let's talk. And
Well-
I think that's what we need to do. Is communication is key.
I think you got to tell them from the beginning, you know, don't take drugs, don't do this, don't do that, don't do whatever. You just got to put it into them
I
since they're
think
little
with an
kids.
example, showing examples just instead of just saying it is so important.
Mm-hmm.
But communication, not judging your child, not admonishing them if they're going to be honest with you, but tell them you can come and talk to me about anything, and I mean anything, and listening instead of judging, opening up your mouth real quick. That's the key.
And
That's
keep
the
them
key
at
to
home
get.
like I was kept under lock and key for years.
That's not always the thing, because
Well-
some kids want to rebel because you can't do something.
Not me.
Again, talking to your kids is so important, and let them be honest with you. Be honest with them. Don't judge and don't admonish, because we all make mistakes.
Let's talk about your website and your phone number now.
Okay.
Because people may not have a pencil, so we'll repeat it again in a few minutes, but we only have a few minutes left.
All right, sounds good. I appreciate you, Karen, on that. My website is RonRufo. It's RonRuf like Frank O.com. On my website, I have all my books on my website, and you could also order my book there.
What's that one called? Because we don't have it here.
My book is called Sexual Predators Amongst Us. Sexual Predators Amongst Us. It's with CRC Press. That was my first book, and I have CRC Press. I was so elated to have them as a publisher. They're excellent. And they can get my book at ronrufo.com or Amazon. It also has my book as well.
The
And
Sexual Predators Among Us?
Sexual Predators Amongst Us.
Amongst Us,
Yes.
okay.
So my phone number is 773-616-3404. Again, it's 773-616-3404. If you ever need me to come out and speak to your group or to your
You know,
club, I'd be happy to. I
got
did that
1
for the
minute
police
left. I
department
gotta-
13 years.
I got 1 minute left. I got to tell a story. I was in a car next to a guy who left his 3 kids under the age of 4 in a running car to go into a store to buy cigarettes. He was all the way at the back of the store. I could see him. I sat there so nobody grabbed the kids. His wife apparently was at work or something. He came out and I said, you know what? I said, you can't leave these kids like this. Somebody will grab them. I mean, I could have taken them. He said, I could see him from the back of the store. Maybe you could see him, but if somebody took off in that car, it was running.
Right.
You're never going to catch them. So
That
please,
only a minute.
please don't do it. Your
Only
life
a-
can change in a minute.
only a
Someone
minute.
stole something out of my cart one day. In 30 seconds, I didn't even see it happen. That could be your kid. So please keep an eye on your kids. Thank you for joining us. You can email me at asktvnurse@yahoo.com.